Hi there, everyone. My name is Megan Song, and I'm really excited to be part of this wonderful health and wellness community culture that's happening, um, and excited to share with you some things about beliefs and how they can prevent us from doing things in our lives that we would really like to see happen, and especially in our businesses. So, again, my name is Megan. I am from Airdrie, Alberta, Canada, and I run a company called Woman Unbridled. And yes, I work with men also, but the majority of my clients are women, and they're women who are stuck um, in their lives, in their self-love, in their self-worth, in their relationships, in their careers. And I'm a resiliency coach and a business mentor for the passion-led entrepreneur. So um, my training is I'm certified right use of power teacher and a somatic counselor and an equine facilitated wellness coach. So I'm also certified as a professional coach and a life coach. So I help women online or in person at my office or at my ranch. And I'm really passionate about us starting to explore the deeper parts of ourselves and learning about the beliefs and the things that are holding us back that we're probably unconscious of. So I'm trained in something called Hakomi, and not a lot of people have heard of Hakomi. But what it is it's a somatic, mindfulness-centered psychotherapy. And so that means that we go into the body in a state of mindfulness. So I teach people about mindfulness, and we explore kind of all the things that are stuck from our past experiences in our nervous system that may be serving us or may not be serving us anymore. And it looks just like a counseling session or a coaching session. But we explore what's happening at an emotional, mental level, as well as physical level in the body. So today, I want to share with you how our beliefs that may be unconscious can prevent us from having successful business and attracting our ideal client and moving forward in a passion-led business that is something that is a calling for us. And I guess the theme of this talk is going to be about getting unstuck when our beliefs and our barriers show up. My website is www.megansaum.com, and there I am going to have at the end of this talk, you can access a pop-up, an opt-in, and it's just going to be a PDF where you're going to be able to work on your beliefs. So there's a form that you can fill out, and you can start to kind of reaffirm or reframe some of your beliefs and use that moving forward in either your personal or professional goals. So I want to talk about first what interjected beliefs are. And I'm sure if you're in the health and wellness industry, a lot of you know that the reasons why our clients get stuck are not often to do with what they personally think or believe, but what they've been taught, told, or shown by experience. And so we call those interjected beliefs. How we were raised and taught is really important when it comes to our self-worth and the ability for us to give permission to ourselves to go after the things that we desire. So when we are stuck around our beliefs, we call these barriers in Hakomi and in my counseling. But when we run up against a barrier, and it might look like when we're in a state of mindfulness, that all of a sudden we have something that comes up that says, I don't know about that, or I can't, or I'm not good enough, or I haven't done the work, I haven't earned it, I'm not valuable enough, or that's not a possibility for me. Whenever we run into barriers, we know that a belief is presenting itself. And my main mission when I'm working with clients is to teach them about power and how to reclaim their power. And power can be lost, it can be given, and it can be taken. And when we are in a disempowered state, this is usually because a belief has shown up. So I'm going to talk about kind of some of the reasons we can get stuck and not move forward with the things that are important to us, whether that be as simple as reaching out and contacting a potential client, to sending out an email, to procrastination around an event, to hiding in the background, or not choosing to collaborate with somebody, or personal reasons, in relationships, around self-worth, around your health, yourself, taking care of yourself, and sabotage patterns. So one main thing, and I think we all know about this, is fear. Um, Fear is something that holds all of us back. It keeps all of us safe. That's its job. And so because I work a lot in the nervous system with people, we address fear all the time, because fear is something that we are meant to have. It's good for us when it's balanced and when it is showing up appropriately. So I talk a lot about fear and the antidote to fear. And to me, that's trust. So when you trust in others, when you have the ability to trust in a higher power, a higher purpose, trust in ourselves mainly is the most important part of that. Um, and how do we get to a place from fear to trust? Through mindfulness, through releasing the barriers that are holding us back, really getting in there, unearthing them, discovering them, and moving forward from there. But to me, it's about the ability to be curious. So when you can really start to engage the mindset of curiosity, you start to transition fear into a space of acceptance or acknowledgement, even faith. And that can start to shift our patterns and our beliefs around fear. Um, Another reason we get stuck when our barriers show up is we don't say what we actually feel. So this has to do with boundaries. And because I am a right use of power coach, a lot of people show up with boundary issues. And what that might look like simply is you can not say yes when you really want to. So you might say no instead. And you might say no, or you might say yes when you really mean no. So it's not being able to really hold space for yourself around boundaries and speak your truth. I have a lot of clients I know that are yesers. So they say yes a lot, and a lot of those yeses either were meant to be no's, they were felt no's, or they were just wasted energy for people. So that's kind of an important part of this too, is where you're putting your energy. And when we're not speaking our truth, it's usually inside. So we're stuffing everything down and we're just doing what we think we should or what's more important to other people. And then that energy gets trapped in us, and we all know that that creates physical manifestation. Um, you put others' opinions and feelings ahead of your own. So this has to do with boundaries as well, and not speaking our truth. But it also has to do with how we were told or taught to value others' opinions over our own. And we lose power here by giving it to others and essentially making others' feelings, thoughts, ideas more important than ours. And we all know how far that gets us in regards to relationships and our businesses. Um, and this is also about trust, trusting in ourselves in this one. You have failed or believe you're a failure. This is a huge area that people get stuck, or I see people get stuck when we are moving forward with their passion-led business, is that you are so afraid to fail that you never are willing to take a risk or a chance to move yourself in the direction of your dreams. And for me, failure is a success because it means you took action. If you failed at something, or, I don't even like the word failure, but if something didn't go as planned or as you expected it, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that it was different. And for me, it means that you took an action. And that is really important, because action taking is what gets you to closer and closer to where you want to be and what you desire. So, but that fear of failure is huge in regards to where I see people get stuck when they're moving forward with something in their business that could be really great. You're looking for validation. So this is the next one, and I like to put it after fear of failure, because often we think that we need validation from somebody else. And we all know we have values and a value system. And when we follow our values, we usually stay in alignment with things that are going to fulfill us, nourish us, satisfy us. But when we move outside of our values, or the negative side of our values, then we are usually nourishing, satisfying, fulfilling somebody else and not us. And then we look for validation from them to make sure that what we're doing is valuable, is worthy. And to me, that's where we get stuck in the fear of failure, is that when somebody else doesn't validate us or doesn't feel that what we're doing is of value or of worth, then we believe it and we shut it down, or we move away, or we withdraw, or we fight it, depending on how our nervous system is triggered. So if you're looking for validation, and I just want to share quickly, as part of my value system is acceptance. And I love to feel in connection with people and have true unjudged acceptance from people. That's one of my values. But on the ugly side of that is validation. So when I'm triggered, when my nervous system is out of its window of tolerance, and I'll just explain that quickly for those of you who don't understand that, is that our nervous system goes into hyper or hypoarousal, and hyperarousal can be the more anxious states, the heart beating quickly states. The hypoarousal can be more of the freeze states, the slowing, the withdrawing, the feeling unmotivated, the depressed. So we have a window of tolerance, and when we're trying something new, or we're being challenged by something, or just everyday living, trying to survive, we are constantly being put under stress. And when we are under stress, our nervous system decides where it needs to kind of put our signal at. And so we want it to be in our window of tolerance. And our window of tolerance means that we're able to cope. We are skillful at being able to stay in our bodies, stay mindful, and move through that in a state of discomfort maybe, but continuing to be able to move forward. When we go into hyperarousal or hypoarousal, that shuts our nervous system down, and it usually prevents us from being able to remain calm or feel successful. So when we get out of our window of tolerance, it's important to get back in. And that can be done by many different things, many different ways with different people. I work somatically in the body, so I work with mindfulness, and I teach people about mindfulness and how to track their senses and track their body and know what's going on. Breath is huge, being able to slow things down by tracking your breath. And then also, I'm really partial to animals, so I'm an equine wellness practitioner, and that means that I work with horses and people to start to re-regulate their nervous system. So all of these things that I'm talking about today, when we are stuck, we are either in hypo or hyper or hypoarousal. And how all of these different things have a way for us to get back into the window of tolerance. So we're going to keep going and talking a little bit about that. But it's important for you guys to know that the window of tolerances are all different for everybody, and they can get bigger and they can get smaller based on our experiences and the traumas that we go through, and what we've been taught and told and all those different things. But it's important for even our basic running of a business, because we are triggered all the time. And if we don't have the capacity to be able to stay grounded and in our bodies, then we can't move forward with the things that we need to, from basic tasks to collaborations, to running workshop, etc., etc. Um, so another area that you can get stuck in is when you're afraid to be alone or you're afraid of relationship. So you're either needing somebody else to fulfill something in you, or you're pushing people away because you're afraid of getting hurt. So we often get stuck here as well. And it makes it really hard to attract ideal clients if we're resisting connection, and it makes it really easy to bring in the wrong client if we are just drawing people in. So often really discovering, who do you want in your life? Who are the people that you're going to feel met by, heard by? Who do you feel that you can really support as well as feel supported by? So, are you somebody who will allow anybody in, or are you somebody who pushes people away? Or maybe you're neither, but it depends on your experiences. I love this analogy for the next one, is that we don't always need to be the hare. And really that means is that we're in a society and a culture today that is all about achievement, the end goal, the objective. We get our fulfillment off of superficial accomplishments. And so we've gotten into this hare mentality. How hard, how fast can we get to the end? And who is the winner? And one of the things that I do when I work with people is, how can we slow this process down for you so that you experience the journey, not just the end win? Because the journey is where all the learning happens. The journey is where you learn about yourself, where you are actually moving at a pace that you can transform so that you don't have to do this again. And it's where you pick up more and more information about your surroundings as well as your insides that are going to help you grow and expand and then maintain when you get there. And that is really important, being able to maintain and continue to grow when you achieve. So be the turtle, not the hare. That's my word of advice around that. Another place we can get stuck is that we can't let go. So people get in a place where attachment is really important to them, and it's really important to us all. We need attachment. We should have had attachment as children, and a healthy relationship with it. And sometimes when we don't have a healthy relationship with it, we find attachment in other areas of our life as adults that we try and fill that hole with. And that could be in business, it could be in relationships, it could be in certain circumstances. But when we have that, our tendency is to hold on to things that no longer serve us or that hold us back, because it's filling some void of attachment. So learning about healthy attachment and how to set boundaries around that, and how to let go and move on from the past. That's really important, being able to be current, present minded, having presence and awareness and being able to be mindful, and then being able to be future oriented. You have to be able to let go. Okay, so this is one of my favorite topics to work with when I'm working with clients, is the characterological places that we get stuck. So because of our beliefs and how we were raised and our personalities and our experiences that we have had, we have these different characterological parts of us that can keep us stagnant and stuck in a place that we don't even realize we're stuck. That's completely unconscious. And I'm just going to give a few of some of the names that we might call these things. So it might be martyr or victim, the complainer, the doormat, the control freak, the inner denier. We have all of these parts of us that will show up at different times, and our nervous system says, oh, this is a great place for the control freak to come in because it gives us an opportunity to maintain control, which puts us back in the window of tolerance. And unfortunately, it's probably not how you're building relationship. It's probably not how you're gaining connection. It's probably not how you really want to run your business, but you do it anyways because it's what you know. So I love exploring people's characterological personalities and how they impact their decisions. Um, so just start thinking about that. Start thinking about these little parts of you that show up at different times. And do they serve you when they show up unconsciously, when you're not aware that they're there? Um, I think this is probably the biggest one for the work that I do, is that you don't believe you deserve better. So people get stuck in going after things that they want in their lives and in their business because you don't believe you deserve better. Um, and you'll purposely sabotage yourself when things start to show you that you do. So things will be going really well. You may have an amazing client who you really supported and really helped find their way, or maybe we're in the health and wellness industry, so maybe even your own patterns, your own self-image, your own way of nourishing your body is that you will sabotage it when your nervous system gets reminded that it doesn't deserve to be well, it doesn't deserve to be healthy, it doesn't deserve to have more. And so really working in a space of self-worth and finding that for yourself is important to be able to um, really go after the things that are going to nourish you, that are going to make you feel satisfied, that are going to be reasons to celebrate and do a happy dance over. Because though that's where you're going to run into the self-worth barrier, is when you get to a place where it means I should celebrate this. I should really own my success here. Scarcity mindset. So when you have a scarcity mindset versus an abundant mindset, this is a huge belief system. This is a big pattern that is really hard for people to shift. And that could be through finances, that could be in relationships, it could be in even how you decorate your home. And so scarcity means that there's not enough for you. There's never going to be enough for you. There's not enough in the world. There's not enough clients. There's too many of us doing the same thing. I'm never going to have enough money for that. You know, scarcity holds us in a space of fear, and it is a really great protector. And it's really wonderful at keeping us held back, not allowing us to shine and put ourselves out there, take risks. So I like to work with people around scarcity, and actually, instead of going to an abundant mindset, work on a resilient mindset. And how do we work through resilience and start to bounce back whenever we fall back? And with scarcity, we do that all the time. It shows up in so many places in our life. So how do we climb the ladder out of that? And if you want to know more about that, I'm actually going to be doing some videos around resiliency. So pop me an email and we can talk about that. But the last big one that I want to share with you guys today that is huge in regards to how we project and perform and show up in our dreams is shame. So shame is something that is actually not real. It's something that we have been taught. So if you ever in your life had an experience of trauma or a relationship or were raised by somebody who made you feel or told you that you were bad, that you were not good enough, that you were unworthy, that you were terrible, that you were useless, that you were invisible. If any of you have ever had an experience like this and you had it happen enough that you started to believe it, that now becomes shame. And shame is the biggest reason why people hold themselves in a place that no longer serves them. It keeps us in a space of never feeling like we're going to be able to, capable of, worthy enough of, valuable enough of, to be able to get what you want, to succeed, whether it be in business, relationships, or life. So that comes around starting a practice of mindfulness and starting to be able to label whenever shame arises. So when you run into something that is an opportunity or a possibility, a relationship, and shame arises, you start labeling it and labeling it and labeling it until shame starts to shift. You have to recreate new beliefs, reframe the shame. So those are the reasons. There's probably many more, but those are the reasons I wanted to share with you today, that beliefs can keep you stuck and not moving into your dreams, into your businesses, into getting your clients, into living a healthy lifestyle yourself, into taking risks. And some of the things that, some of these things, you know, you might not have them all. You might only have one that you deal with. Maybe you have none, and that would be really, really amazing for you if you didn't. But it's taking it, again, a turtle pace. So each one of these things that if you heard me talk about today and they resonate with you, pick one and start there and slowly start to unpack it. So I call this unearthing. So it's like digging it up, starting to explore it, discovering why it has been held in you for this long and where to go from there. So, but do one at a time and get started today, because today is another day and you can always start and you can always continue to grow and expand, no matter how successful you are, how many dollar bills you have in your bank account, how many relationships, good relationships you have. Maybe it's just one, maybe you have a lot of friends, whatever it is, but there's always going to be things that you want, and there's always going to be things that try and tell you you can't have it. So for me, personal growth and personal development is an everyday thing that I think we should all kind of get excited to participate in. So, okay, so some of the things you can do when you run up against any of these barriers. And something that I actually want to talk about a little bit before I go there is that when we feel stuck, or when we know we're stuck, it's actually a really exciting thing, because what that means is that it's a sign that it's time to make a change, that you're ready. And whenever I have a client that shows in and is like, I'm just stuck, I can't move forward, I don't know where to go, or I'm just like in the same place all the time, keep repeating, is that is an indicator that something in you is ready to transform, that you keep coming back to it, or you can't move because it is ready for something different to happen. And if we can keep that mindset, that perspective, then we're able to move forward in a completely different way than just unconsciously through the same pattern over and over again. Okay, so the first thing to do when you get stuck is to bite-size your actions. So again, this is kind of like the turtle in the hare, but more around when we know we have to do things, or when we just can't move. How do we move? By taking action. And sometimes actions are too big. We pick actions that are so far out of the ballpark that it actually puts us even into more of a place of stuck. So you're going to bite-size your actions. Even if it feels tiny, even if you're like, this is ridiculous, just call that person. You're going to bite-size it, because that means that to your nervous system, you're still in progress. So if maybe you can't call that person today, you put it on a sticky note on your fridge or on your wall or on your computer that says, call this person. And then after a week of saying, call this person, you might pick up the phone. And then you might email this person because it's easier. And then you might call this person. But it's being able to, no matter how huge, maybe it's moving across the world, to calling a person, to just getting up and going for a walk today. It can be of any size that an action can feel overwhelming. And when it feels overwhelming, we need to listen to our bodies, and we need to listen to our hearts, and we need to take the time to bite-size the action so that it can create progress in our nervous system, teeny tiny little shifts. The next one, you don't have to have it all planned out. So this is a huge one for my coaches out there that are strategists. They're gonna not like this one. But you don't have to have all the answers right now. So A plan is great. Goals are fabulous. Expectations are not. So when we have a plan or a strategy, and then we have goals on that plan and action plans, our tendency is that we create expectations for ourselves around success or failure based on these expectations. And when we pressure ourselves that way, what happens? We go out of our window of tolerance. And so if you are doing this on a daily basis, and this is how you create motivation in your life, the only time that you're getting anything done or moving towards anything on your plan is when you're out of your window of tolerance. And what that does is it creates an environment inside of us that is more reactive than responsive. So it is really important when you are in a reactive space to make sure that you're thinking, what is the difference between a reaction here and a response? And if I didn't know the end, if I just felt like this is something I just want to do and I want to see where it wants to go, but there's no plan involved, how would that feel? How would that trigger or not trigger my nervous system? And so sometimes having a plan is wonderful. I always have a plan in the sense that I have a vision. I create vision boards with people in a kind of a different way, but we always know the vision and we have goals and we have action plans, but we do not hold ourselves to expectations again of the outcome because that creates more pressure and more instability in our nervous system. So being able to kind of go with the flow a little bit is important. And then to bounce off of that is that if you take no action, there is no change. So if you're stuck and you take absolutely no action whatsoever, there is not a possibility for any change or transformation to occur. So again, it's about what can you do in this moment for yourself, for your business, for your clients, for whatever it is that you're stuck in, to just make one minute shift. Because no movement means no change, no transformation. When I used to be a personal trainer and a nutritionist, I would have clients all the time run up against sabotage. And they would quit. They'd be like, I can't do this, I'm done. And I'd be like, okay, but what of the 5 times this week that you actually did something about this? Don't quit on that. Don't quit on the 5 times that a different part of you showed up. So it's about even the awareness or acknowledgement of the part of you that wants more for yourself. And if you keep acknowledging that part, those little actions will start to shift and they'll start to happen and change will happen. Okay, so if you want something to shift, maybe it's that you want to start attracting a new clientele. Maybe it's that you want to shift into a whole new realm of work. Maybe it's that you need a relationship to end. An ending actually has to happen. So for new beginnings to happen, and I know it's like so cliche to talk about like for a door to open, one has to close, but that is the truth. The honest to God truth is that for transformation to happen, we have to leave behind something, whether it's a mindset, a person, an experience, a belief. And I like to use beliefs because a good 80% of the time when I'm working with somebody, it's a belief that they have to leave behind for something new to transform and actually become part of your being, to actually embody something, to have it become a lifestyle, to have it become a new form of work, to attract new clients. You have to close the thing that is preventing you from creating space for that in your life. So, for instance, I still do work with men. I probably have 6 men on my client list right now. But what I realized when I was marketing my business, my coaching business, is that when I was having it for everybody, it was really unclear about what I could help people with, how I could serve them in their pain. And because men's pain and women's pain is sometimes a little bit different, their pain points around beliefs and power, it wasn't very clear, and I wasn't finding the people that I really love working with. And so at one point in time, I had to say what can close, and for my marketing, it was use the word men. It was the invitation of men to be in my practice. So I literally shifted my whole marketing. It's called Woman Unbridled. I call myself a woman inspirator. And the reason for that is because then I was in contact with the people. By calling myself, labeling myself that, I was able to close the door to the people that were kind of like, well, I'd like you to help me with my business and give me all the strategy and run my numbers. And that's not my client. And so I'm a touchy-feely, emotional, let's get deep and dark and dig and come out the other side powerful type of person. And so I needed to start to claim that for myself and close the door to letting the other clients go. And so since I've done that, that has been a huge shift for me, closing one door, creating an ending, and then beginning, so that there was something new for me. There's new opportunities, there's new invitations. And you can do that too. And that is in any realm of your life, not just business, but friendships, networking groups. I mean, we all know we belong to 100 million networking groups. Sometimes some have to go because they are not your right fit, right? So where can you close some doors in your life? That's what I'll challenge you with. Negativity holds you back. So how can you start to catch yourself when the inner critic comes in, when the judger comes in, when the denier comes in? Again, those characterological parts of ourselves. When the negativity arises, what do you do? Do you just listen to it? Do you ignore it? Do you try and pretend it's not there? No, you need to be with it. You need to label it and then sit with it and know where it is in your body. And then you can start to say to yourself, okay, so this is my negative Nelly, or this is my negative side. And this is what they're saying. If I were to have a positive side or a superhero side, what would they say in this moment? What would they want my negative side to know? How would they act or respond in this situation? And then you sit with both of that, the knowledge of both sides, and make a decision from there. Not just on the negative and not just on the positive. Sometimes we have to really swing between the two places. But to move more and more into a positive mindset is to know what the positive version of that negative would be doing, saying, acting as, believing, behaving as. Because then you know that the negative side is just there because it's afraid. It's there to protect you for some reason, and it's worked before. So being able to be gentle with the negative parts of our mind is important and compassionate, and then effective in your actions moving forward. Overthinking. So when we overthink something, it shuts us down, keeping us in a space of chaos. So thoughts are just thoughts, and when we don't feel it in our body, that is where it will just keep mulling around and mulling around. So whenever I have a client struggling with something, or I'm struggling with something myself, and my mind gets really busy about it, that means that it's detached from the rest of my body. So then it is important to say, okay, so if I'm having these thoughts and I track my breath for probably 3 to 5 inhales and exhales, where in my body do I feel that thought? So it might be in my heart, it might be in my stomach, it might be even in my legs somewhere. And then I start to explore that sensation of that feeling. I bring those thoughts into my body. And then sure enough, if they're not meant to stay, they'll disappear. They get bored, right? They leave. And then something new will come in. But to just ignore it, deny it, push it off, stuff it down, whatever it is that you do, or you just get really busy, that's creating energy. And when that energy is moving, it's using energy that could be used somewhere else towards something that is really much more meaningful to you. So whenever I get overthinking, I try and bring it back into my body so that I can reconnect to the grounded part of myself, the part of me that is here, sitting here, breathing, being still, that is real, not just a thought that floats in and floats out. And even visualizing that thought coming in and moving through. I did a mindfulness retreat once, where I was learning to be a mindfulness teacher, and we practiced for days just this idea of when we have a thought, it's come in our front door, and how do we escort it out the back door, by letting it pass through. And eventually that thought will shift and it will quit haunting you and bugging you over and over again. Okay. And then the last that I want to leave you with, you guys, is that when we are stuck in our beliefs, is that it is really the most important thing to remember is that you do have the potential to become your next best self every single second of the day. So when we are present, when we are connected to ourselves, we have the potential for continuous growth and to find our next best self from moment to moment to moment. And so I want to leave you guys with this idea, and I know that probably a lot of you are here for business reasons, to learn about building your business. And all of these things apply. Even with my business mentorship clients, I am always working through these steps with people. Where are the barriers? Where do we run into blocks? And then how do we compassionately shift them so that we can provide new opportunities, find your next best potential, and continue your growth. So if you can just pay attention and become aware of some of these, maybe do some journaling around that, that would be really important. But what I want you to do is go to my website. Again, it's megansom.com, and there will be an opt-in there for you. And when you click on that, it's just a PDF. It's really simple with a couple boxes on it, and it's going to ask you to start to discover one belief that you know is hurting you, keeping you stuck, not allowing you to find your ideal client, move forward in a business venture, be happy in a relationship, really take care of yourself and love yourself fully, any of these things. And it's going to give you an opportunity to be able to explore at least 3 to 4 more beliefs around that you could have, and then how to start to shift that and actually reframe that belief into one of those ones that you've put on the page. So it's a really simple thing. I'm not going to ask you to do a lot, but it's nice to have it right out in front of you and be able to see and keep track of, because it's wonderful to be able to look back 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 5 years later, whatever it is, and say, oh my gosh, that used to be a struggle I had. That used to be something I was challenged with, and now it's not. And that's nothing greater than a reconfirmation that you are shifting from your next best self to your next best self. So if you're interested, please head on over there and download that. Or I think actually it's an email. So you sign up for your email and then it gets sent to you. And if you have any questions at all about power differential, somatic work, getting your beliefs unearthed, discovered, and transformed, or basic business mentoring type questions, I would be happy to talk to any of you. So again, reach out. My email is info@megansom.com, and I hope that you all are having a fantastic time moving through the summit.